What's up, guys? This is the Osmo.com Night Shift Podcast. We're talking 14-game MLB slate for Tuesday, September 18th. Tons to talk about. We will have the ownership projections, rankings. Osmo will have his top stack article. You can still use our lineup builder if you are a premium member, something that's really helpful if you're building by hand. All the information you need all in one spot. Spotlight hitters, pitchers, and stacks by myself. I believe Josh will be back. But if not, it'll be Laffy filling in for him, possibly getting the process show back as well, but there will be a strategy video. I'll be on it as always. And that is about it as far as the housekeeping stuff. Let's talk 14-game MLB slate. Let's go Toronto and Baltimore. We have Dylan Bundy. We have Aaron Sanchez going for Toronto, going up against Dylan Bundy. This game is in Baltimore. These guys both priced pretty affordable on DK. Sanchez, $5,900, Bundy, $6,400. I mean, I'm going to have interest in both of these guys. Sanchez, impressive last couple starts, especially the one against the Red Sox, went 7 innings, 6 strikeouts, was missing bats, getting chases. I mean, I don't know exactly what's going on with Sanchez, but he does have decent stuff. He's got a mid-90s fastball. He's got some good secondary pitches as well. And for $5,900, fully stretched out against a righty-heavy team, certainly willing to take a risk on Sanchez in tournaments. Bundy on the other side, I mean, you know what you're getting from him. He's going to give up home runs, and when he's not giving up home runs, he's probably going to be missing bats. So, again, same thing for Bundy. He's got a righty-heavy lineup, and he's got a chance to rack up a bunch of strikeouts against this Toronto team. Could he give up a bunch of home runs? Yeah, absolutely. But he's someone that I almost always play both sides of when I MME. And if I was in a single entry, I think I would lean more towards playing Bundy than playing Toronto bats. Mets and Phillies, we have, I believe it's going to be Jason Vargas. No, it looks like Steven Matz now. Steven Matz going up against Nola, who is 10-9. Don't really have much interest in Matz. I'm a little worried about guys like Rhys Hoskins, Wilson Ramos, Carlos Santana, and Althair to some extent. So while I respect what Matz has done lately, I'm probably going to lay off of him, at least for this start. Nola is 10-9 on DK. I mean, I think he's a little bit underpriced here. We've got a ton of options at the top with Kluber and Kershaw, Snell, Garrett Cole, Strasburg. So, I mean, you're definitely not hurting for top starting arms. And I think the ownership will be pretty spread around on these top guys. Nola's one of my favorites. I think he would be second, maybe first for me right now, taking into account like my projected ownership for him, his price, and a really good matchup against the Mets. The Mets, well, they do have some lefties in there. It looks like they're going to roll out a pretty balanced lineup. The lefties are like Dominic Smith, Brandon Nimmo, Conforto, Bruce, guys that you can definitely strike out, especially if you're as high a quality pitcher as Aaron Nola is. So really like him in tournaments. Royals and Pirates, we have Eric Skoglund going up against Jameson Taillon. Skoglund for $5K. No interest in him here. Just not a good pitcher, judging by really any numbers, and he's going to get a decent amount of righties. I wish I could play more righties for the Pirates. I mean, if Jose Azuna's in there, I think he makes for a perfectly fine play, as does Francisco Cervelli at catcher. Cervelli is under 4K here. Anytime he's against a lefty, he's usually going to come up in my player pool quite a bit as a one-off. Taillon, 9,200, same price as Musgrove was on what day is it? Monday. So I have no issue rolling out Taillon here. I think he's similar to Musgrove in that you want righty-heavy lineups against him. And he doesn't really struggle all that much with power. 31% hard hit rate this season, 366 xFIP overall. Not someone that I think has a ton of upside at this price, but I'm certainly willing to play some Jameson Taillon here, and he's a good enough pitcher where I'm not looking to play a bunch of Royals bats against him. I don't know off the top of my head, and this is something I should look for anytime Merrifield and Mondesi are in the lineup. I don't know, and you can hear me looking it up, how good or bad Tyon is at holding runners. There's not a huge sample on him, but let's see. This season, he's allowed 12 steals, so you definitely can run on him. Mondesi and Merrifield will pretty much run on anyone, so those are two bats that I think are interesting at the very least. Okay, as you can hear me getting a call right there, we're going to turn that on sleep mode. All right, so Tyon is a guy that's certainly in play, but on the other side, I do like Merrifield and Mondesi quite a bit. All right, let's go to White Sox and Indians. It is going to be Carlos Rodon going up against Corey Kluber. Rodon, 8,100, but I don't think you could play him here. I mean, he's not someone I target heavily against, so I'm probably going to stick to Jose Ramirez, Francisco Lindor, and Josh Donaldson for this game as far as Cleveland bats. And then Kluber, I think he's going to be pretty popular here. I kind of wish he was going to be the heavy chalk, and he still may be, but coming off a negative performance on DK, I think that some people may lay off of him. I'm still of the mindset he may not be fully right. He may not be the Kluber of old, and at 10-6 against a team that does have some power, it is a really good spot as far as strikeouts. I mean, even if Kluber is 90% of what he was last year, this is still a really good spot and an affordable price. So don't have a problem with it unless he's going to be the overwhelming chalk here. I think I would rather pivot to a guy like Nola, Kershaw, Snell too even. So let's go to Minnesota and Detroit. We have Jake Odorizzi going up against Daniel Norris. Odorizzi is 8K on DraftKings, coming off of the near no-hitter. Like his plate discipline stuff wasn't fantastic in that game. I think he had like an 11% swinging strike rate, but it was against the Yankees. Really impressive start. I mean, however you shake it, like he's a pretty underrated pitcher, and he is capable of those types of performances. Now, he didn't get it done with the Ks, but he certainly could do that here against a righty-heavy Detroit team that loves to strike out. So I really do like Odorizzi here. He's going to be someone that's left in my player pool. He's going to be someone that I want to check ownership on. I don't know how noteworthy that almost no-hitter was. It wasn't like he was an out away. And the Twins aren't a team that many people follow. A lot of people weren't on Odorizzi, so I just wonder what his ownership is going to be like as far as the recency bias for a guy that was pretty close to having a really, really awesome game. Norris, 5,400. I'm going to take some shots on him here. He's someone that does certainly have strikeout upside, but when he gets hit, it's really, really hard, and there is a bad bullpen behind him. 44% hard hit rate, 2 righties this year for Norris. His xFIP's always going to be up. 27% line drive rate for Norris against righties, but he is striking out 27% of them as well. So at 5,400 for a guy that is capable of going 5 or 6 innings, I think that he deserves to at least stay in your player pool. On the other side, Jorge Polanco is really the only guy that I really want to play here. Unless Tyler Austin's going to be in the lineup, then certainly have some Tyler Austin against a lefty. All right, let's go to Nationals and Phillies. We have Steven Strasburg going up against Sandy Alcantara. Is it going to be Alcantara or Brigham? Let's see here. Let's see what DraftKings has. Sometimes I do this too early where I can't, where the sites don't agree on who's pitching, I should say. Yeah, it is Alcantara. Anyways, it doesn't matter that much to me. I still do like Nats bats. I'm not crazy about Strasburg. The Marlins aren't just a team. I fire up a pitcher that's super expensive. They are pretty pesky unless they roll out a terrible lineup like they did on Monday. then obviously things would change. But if they roll out a semi-formidable lineup against Strasburg, he's going to be someone that I'm going to be under the field on. He's coming off a 32-point performance, but he's not throwing with the velocity he was earlier in the season. I think he's a little bit overrated as far as DFS goes. And, I mean, there are a lot of other options on the slate, so I don't think he's going to make many of my lineups. Alcantara, 6,200 for him. He's not someone I'm going to be looking to play. I really like Harper, Soto, Anthony Rendon, and Trey Turner as well. So I'm going to be on some Nat stacks. That Marlins bullpen has been pretty bad all season. Cardinals and Braves, we have Austin Gomber going up against Anibal Sanchez. Gomber is 6,000 on DK. Sanchez, 7,900. I have no interest in Gomber here. I love the Braves bats here. I think Gomber, you saw it in his last start, he has a lot of regression coming. And maybe it all happened in one game against the Dodgers last time out, but this guy is just getting rocked by lefties. Not rocked as far as the results go, but the quality of contact he's giving up is just unsustainable for a guy who had a BABIP that was like below 270 against righties. And you saw what happens when he goes up against a good team. He's still giving up a 25% line drive rate, over 40% hard contact to righties. This is another tough spot with guys like Flowers, Albies. I really like Camargo here, and Acuna, of course, leading off. Sanchez, 7,900. He actually leads the MLB in whiffs per swing rate for the month of September. Now, it only has 2 starts in there for him, so it's a little misleading, but he is missing a ton of bats in his first couple starts. And he can miss bats. He's always been able to, but it's the walks, it's the power that gets him in trouble. For 7,900, I think I will have some exposure to Sanchez, but I don't want to go crazy with it on a smaller slate. He may be a guy that I go really heavy on, but there's just so many options. I don't see the need to target a St. Louis team that heavily. But I will not be playing a lot of Cardinals because Sanchez has been so good at missing bats. Reds and Brewers, we have Michael Lorenzen going up against Chase Anderson. Lorenzen, 6,900, I believe. 6,900. Chase Anderson is 6,600. I don't think Lorenzen is stretched out really at all. So this is going to be a spot where I don't want to play him. Obviously, if a $6,900 player is not stretched out, and then his numbers overall aren't that great either. 17% K rate, 28.6% chase rate, 7% swinging strike rate. Just not someone that I'm looking to play, and I'll play some Christian Yelich for sure at 5,900. Ryan Braun's only 4,200 as well, and then you've got Moustakas in there for 4,500. All guys I really, really like against Lorenzen. Anderson, 6,600. I think he may become chalkier as the day goes on, as people are looking for guys to pair with the top arms. And he's just not someone I'd play at chalk. 478 xFIP, 36% hard hit rate. I mean, average, below average, swinging strikes and chase rates. I mean, he's just not that great of a pitcher. And for some reason, he always becomes chalky. And when that happens, I usually take the other side, and it works out a lot more often than it doesn't. The problem here is you don't have a ton of great Reds bats to choose from. You've got Votto and Suarez in there, and those guys are perfectly fine here. They're cheap enough. Votto, 4,800. Suarez, 4,400. Scooter Jeanette's in there for 4,800 as well. So it's not the worst lineup in the world. And I think people will play Chase Anderson. So give me some give me some Reds on the other side. Rays and Rangers, we have Blake Snell going up against Giovanni Gallardo. Snell is 12-1 on DK. And there just isn't really much else to say about Snell right now. He's just been unconscious, striking out at least 9 in 4 out of his last 5. The one start he didn't was when he struck out 8. I mean, he's just going deep. He's just getting strikeouts, missing a ton of bats against good teams. In his last 5 starts, he's done it against Cleveland twice and Boston. So he's matchup proof at this point. I think it's pretty safe to say. The problem here with Snell, if it is a problem at all, and I don't know that it's that big of an issue, but just playing in Texas. It's a really tough place to pitch, tough to rack up strikeouts there. And, Texas, while they do swing and miss a lot, they do have quite a bit of power. Just a 4-run total there, 92 degrees though. That's going to worry me. And I think that's going to worry a lot of people. So just trying to think how maybe the general public thinks. He should be pretty low owned, and that's always appealing to me. He's someone I'm almost always overweight on, regardless of the matchup. So it's looking like that will be the case here. Once again, I don't want to play bats against him. You've got that solid Rays bullpen behind him anyways. Gallardo, 4,500. He just can't miss any bats. Just the polar opposite of Snell. Under 6% swinging strike rate, under 25% chase rate this year. I mean, xFIP well above 5. Not much else to say. You got a bad Rangers bullpen behind him as well. You see these Rays prices have come down just a little bit. Not super cheap, but G-Man Choi for 4,500, Wendell for 4,200. Kiermaier's still up at 5,100, man. And it'll probably just mostly be Choi, Wendell, and then Tommy Pham for 5K. Seattle and Houston, Mike Leake going up against Garrett Cole. Leake, not even on my radar here, 7,200, way too expensive for a really bad matchup. And then, once again, the Astros are just way too cheap, and I don't even think they're going to be that heavily owned here. Anytime you can get a really good team with a lot of power at low ownership on a big slate like this, I'm almost always going over the field. So if I'm making 150 lineups, I'll gladly have 10 or 12 Astros stacks and be 2 times the field, because I think that's what we're going to see here. Just a 4.6 implied total for them, but that doesn't really matter to me. I love stacking up the Astros against righties, because people don't realize that they hit righties just as well as they hit lefties, and better than in some guys' cases, like Yuli Gurriel. Garrett Cole, 12.5, most expensive pitcher on the slate. I'm going to go elsewhere. I can see it already. Like, he's just never someone that, outside of those first few starts when he was just ridiculous and striking out double digits every time out, like his plate discipline numbers were up and he was going deep in games, and he's still getting quite a bit of swinging strikes, almost 14% for the season. But he's had trouble going deep, and he hasn't gone over 6 innings in each of his last 6 starts, and that worries me a little bit when I'm paying 12.5. If he was the only guy up in this range, I would be more inclined to do it. But you've got all these guys below him like Snell and Kershaw, Nola, who I love, Kluber. So it's probably going to be another slate where I'm below the field on Garrett Cole. Cubs and Diamondbacks, we have Mike Montgomery going up against, we don't really know yet for the Diamondbacks, possibly Clay Buchholz. No, wait, not Clay Buchholz. No, he's been shut down for the year. I don't know what DK is smoking here, but they have Buchholz listed as the starter, obviously a long way away. So they'll fix that probably by the time you listen to this. But no, Fangraphs does have Matt Cook right now. If that's the case, you could play all the Cubs bats you want, because he's just not a good pitcher as a starter. And then Montgomery for 5,300, not someone I'm looking to play. Really, really like Pollock and Goldschmidt. But we'll get more clarity on this game tomorrow morning when Josh and I talk on the strategy video. Angels and Athletics. Tyler Skaggs going up against Liam Hendricks. So Skaggs, I believe he's coming off quite a long layoff. He hasn't started, since August 11th, and he's someone I haven't dug into just yet, but I don't think this is the spot where I want to play him coming off an injury. Probably going to be limited as far as pitches go. And then you've got these Oakland A's who are just way too cheap. Another team it's a good team, a lot of power from both sides of the plate. Obviously, you want the righties against Skaggs. I love Matt Chapman here for 4,200. I'll play Chris Davis for 4,600 and Piscotty under 4K. It'll be interesting to see doing a deeper dive on this tomorrow to see if we can attack this Angels bullpen. I won't do it right now. I won't bore you with that. You hear me clicking through stuff, but I do have quite a bit of interest in the Oakland Bats, despite it being a bad park. Liam Hendricks opening for the Athletics, and then I'm not sure who's coming in after him, but this will be another game that we'll get into more on the strategy video, so I'll just save it for that. Rockies and Dodgers, Kyle Freeland going up against Clayton Kershaw. Probably no bats for me in this game outside of Manny Machado, who's just 4,500. I mean, it's just too cheap for him against the lefty. I mean, that should never happen. That's probably a pricing error. Also, Matt Kemp is probably too cheap. So maybe a couple guys outside of Machado. These Dodgers, like, they're just begging you to play them all the time for whatever reason. I mean, they hit perfectly fine at home, but Freeland's not someone I usually target against. Just way too good at getting ground balls for me to want to fire up a ton of Dodgers stacks here. Kershaw, 11.3, kind of a weird price for him. I mean, is it a little bit of a trap? I honestly don't know, but I don't remember exactly how that St. Louis start went. Oh, yeah, he had the strikeouts, but he gave up 3 earned runs, so not exactly what you're looking for there, but he went 6 innings. Didn't miss a ton of bats. It's kind of tough to do that against St. Louis, especially when you're a lefty. But this is obviously a worse team. You get them outside of Coors, I always say, where they really struggle. So I don't have a problem with Kershaw, but I just think he's going to go over-owned here once again. Giants and Padres, last game of the night. We've got Derek Holland going up against Joey Lucchesi. Holland is 8,300. And I actually have some interest in him. It's a good pitcher's park, and he does strike out over 26% of righties, especially over the last month and a half or so. He's been a lot better, getting more chases, getting swinging strikes. The issue with Holland is, and it's actually not that big of an issue now that I'm looking into it a little bit, but I just remember they weren't letting him go deep at all. But he actually has gone pretty deep over his last few starts. So I guess I was going to say something there that wasn't true. So I'm glad I looked at that. But you see his DK points, nothing spectacular in there. I think he's got a decent shot at 20. And that's appealing for 8,300. He's going to get you a different line of construction. No one's going to be on him. And the Padres obviously have a ton of K potential. Joey Lucchesi, 7,600 for him. He's someone that I think is super interesting. I love attacking this Giants roster, especially with no Buster Posey. You've got Longoria gone. You've got McCutchen gone. Longoria's still in the lineup. He's the one guy I'm really worried about. But Lucchesi's already had a really good start against the Giants at home. Same situation. This was in April, so I mean, you can't just transfer this over and lock Lucchesi in for 25, but he threw 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, a 15% swinging strike rate, just a dominant performance. And I think we could see that again. He's coming off a couple nice starts, 4 straight starts with at least 5 innings, averaging over 6 strikeouts in those starts. He's getting a lot more swinging strikes as well. And I think he's a little bit better than people give him credit for. So for 7,600, I think that I'm going to be in on Lucchesi. All right, that's going to do it for the night shift, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Tune in tomorrow to the strategy show. Hopefully we'll have Josh back. If not, it'll be Lofty and I. We will have spotlight hitters, pitchers, and stacks out first thing in the morning. We will have the top stack article from Osmo himself, and hopefully get some NFL content out for you for week 3. Good luck, guys. See you in the morning.